What's up, guys? Welcome to Information Operation. I'm Connor Ryan, and we're coming at you from Marquette, Michigan. We're bringing you your locally sourced ideas, thoughts, and inquiries. Today on the podcast, we have Nate Schreiner. Nate is an engineer at 906 Technologies, an investor, local Muay Thai fighter, and avid bow hunter. Nate will also be helping me with future episodes, so it made sense to bring him on the show first. So Nate, what's good with it?
How you doing?
Awesome, man. First day of the year.
Man, time goes by quick nowadays.
First day of the year, 2017, completely behind us.
Completely.
What are you going to do in 2018?
Man,
You got big dreams?
there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. What about you? You got plans?
I'm making a few changes, making some big changes myself.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Hot
Sounds
yoga
really
class
awesome
today.
what you've told me about.
Big time. Hot yoga class today. Prime time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Tula Vessi.
Trying to start a streak. Get a streak rolling.
Immerse yourself in the art.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to surround yourself with people who know a lot more about it than you do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of brings me to your hunting experience. Tell me about that this summer.
Man, what an awesome trip. Out to Montana for, a month?
You went for an
little bit more.
entire month?
A little more than a month. Month and a half.
Right.
Split up between two trips. It was awesome, really awesome. Like you said, just immersed myself in people that knew a lot more than me. And I was definitely the most inexperienced person there, and it was awesome. What I learned, the people I was around, some real hardcore people. Like two of the people that were there, 15-year veterans of the United States Army. One led a sniper team. Other one was an infantryman busting down doors. Just some wild stories.
And you get to hang out with these people for a month.
Oh, yeah, and I heard all kinds of stories and experiences, and it really gives you a new perspective on how good we have it here when we don't have to worry about the violence that they actually undertook.
Right.
It's pretty wild that, oh, man, the stories that I heard from them were insane.
So you say they know a lot more than you. What kind of technical aspects were you...
In terms of the outdoors, in terms of being in the mountains, stalking animals, whether that be animals or humans, I mean, that's what they learned on. They were stalking humans. So they very experienced now they're avid hunters. So they were stalking bears, elk. Watched one of them stalk a little bear. We didn't end up shooting it. I followed him as he stalked it for 5 miles on the trail, picking up dew off branches, following their tracks. And we actually came up on it 300 yards, a little bit less, and we saw this bear hitting the figure eight around these two points, like through a saddle. So two mountains sitting next to each other. He's figure eighting around the points of the mountains looking for food, and we tracked him on this trail and caught up to him. I watched him, dude, and it was unbelievable.
Now, were you closer to that one than the one you saw in the UP?
No. The one in the UP was definitely closer. That was 30 yards on the ground, eye to eye.
And what's
That
that?
was awesome.
What's that like when you weren't face to face with this thing? He didn't know you were there.
He didn't know I was there.
You knew
No.
he was there.
Yes, he didn't know I was there.
Right.
What amazed me was how dog-like this thing was. It's like a dog.
Just playing in
Yeah,
the grass. Or
I
what?
can't even express it in words, but yes. I mean, just the way it acted, it was like a big furry dog.
And they live up here in the UP.
Man, a lot of them are just roaming those woods
I
out
have
there.
yet to see one.
Yeah, they are elusive.
Big time.
It's tough to see them even when you go looking for them.
Right.
Very tough.
So how do you get into hunting? Did your dad teach you in Grand Rapids? You
No. I did not.
stalking deer down in the city?
Never learned hunting in Grand Rapids. None of my family hunts. Picked it up on my own. Not exactly sure why. That was 13, 14. It was 2013 I got my first bow. So I think that was my first. I don't know what came first, like me wanting to hunt or me interested in shooting a bow.
Right. Well,
So-
it's pretty action oriented. Just going for it. Like, okay, I want to go.
Well, I mean, I don't mess around with anything. I mean, if if I want to do something, I'm gonna go do it or figure out the means to make it happen and go do it. So I bought my first bow in 2013. Shot for probably a year before I hunted, got really efficient with my bow, and then just started hunting, and that was all self-taught. And then on top of the trip I took to Montana, I learned a lot, obviously, through those guys.
So that's a pretty short period of time to go from, okay, I bought my first bow to I want to lead people in hunting expeditions, wilderness hunting expeditions. How do you make that transfer? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, it was. So I haven't guided anybody yet, officially, for money, but it was something I was interested in because it was like, well, if I learn from the guides who have been doing this for years, then I'm going to learn a lot more than hanging out with maybe friends that have hunted here and there, or maybe me learning by myself. If someone's doing it professionally, they are going to have the know-how, an
Right.
extreme know-how, and so I just wanted to immerse myself in that culture.
That makes sense. Now, is there a way to make a good living as a guide?
Yes, it depends. Owning multiple, not as a guide. Well, see, it's so tough to say. There's such a broad spectrum. Yeah, there's guides that can make a great living. They are completely happy doing what they love. They might not make 100K or whatever that number may be, but they are sustainable and they are very happy because they do what they love. Um, so as a guide, no, you can't make a ton of money doing it, but as an outfit, you potentially could scale. And that's not easy, but nothing worth doing is easy. So you could scale an outfitting business or
Right.
multiple. It would have to be multiple if you're really looking for high revenue. You'd have to own a few outfit camps, have multiple guides under you, and you could scale that and make a very good living doing.
And how many participants are you talking like at a time? How are you taking one person out at a time? Are you taking
It's
groups of
usually
people?
groups. Usually, if someone's going to sign up for a guide, there's at least one other person with them.
Right.
It's usually not a single person.
And how do you get out there?
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, these are areas, these are wilderness areas.
Oh, well, I mean, there's guides for every region, guides for every kind of trip. There's hunting guides, rafting guides. I mean, you know about mountaineering guides. So there's all different avenues. So if you just talk about strictly hunting guides, there's guides or outfits. There's outfits that only operate in wilderness areas. So they're usually packing in by horse, but there's also outfits that'll take you in cars and drive roads. I mean, there's a very broad spectrum to guiding and hunting.
So in Montana,
What about?
how'd you do it?
They are mostly they have a drop camp, so up on a mountain, and they bring people in and they'll drop them off there, and they'll either leave them a guide or they will let them do it themselves, which is called a drop hunt. And then they were just slowly. They have a bunch of horses. They don't have a business plan set up for packing pack-ins for clientele, but that's what they're moving into. It's pack-ins with horses. So you pack in 14 miles or so, whatever that number is, and you start hunting from that location. Wherever you guys pack into, you set up camp and you start hunting.
And
You
this
start
is
branching
private
off.
land owned by the outfitter?
It's actually national forest where I was, so it's the Bitterroot National Forest,
Okay.
owned by the government.
Gotcha.
They release permits. You have to apply for permits, and there's only so many permits out there. So, and it's super interesting. That's something I learned out there is there's only a finite number of permits. So the businesses that operate, the outfits that operate in the Bitterroot National Forest are limited. Let's say there's 50 of them right now. I don't know that number. So there's 50 permits out there right now today, and there's never going to be a 51st permit. What you have to do is you have to go buy someone else's permit. So you have to go find an outfit or a rafting guide that may want to stop operating in the Bitterroot National Forest, and you need to go buy them, concoct a deal that they like, and buy their permit from them because the government will not release another permit.
Kind of like they do the season or the tags on the animals as well.
Yes, there's a finite number sometimes.
When you
Sometimes they're
say
over
the government, I mean the DNR is the head of that department, correct?
Yes. For tags, yes. Doing studies on populations, figuring out what that quota is for a healthy population. That's the DNR.
And how do they figure that?
Through studies that I don't even know. They survey populations. They try to get a sex ratio. I'm not even sure what all goes into the study, but
But there's literally biologists who
They
that
get-
is
yep.
their
that is what they
main-
get paid for, is studying elk, or maybe they study elk and deer, but I'm guessing they have a species and they study the hell out of that species.
Right. And their
Become
patterns.
experts.
And
Yep.
that's interesting.
Super interesting.
And that's how they determine how many you can take in a season. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's set by science. It's not someone saying, "Hey, we're going to kill 100 deer, so here's 100 tags that the public can go buy." Which it almost seems like anti-hunters really think that, like it's just an arbitrary number. No, it's actually based off science and studies and research.
And based on what they feel a healthy population would be.
Yes, the experts. What the experts feel is a healthy population.
Right. Do you think that the population of deer or elk or whatever the game may be would survive without hunters?
Yeah. Yeah, they would definitely survive.
Would they? Well, would they deplete their natural resources?
Yeah, okay, so you want to go really far down the line after overpopulation, because that's what I first foresee happening is if you just don't hunt deer or elk or something, you're going to see an overpopulation where there's way too many of them. And then you go another 20, 50 years down the line, yeah, they potentially, I mean, it's almost certain that they would deplete their food source, and then we would come into a time where they become extinct. So it's, yeah, I mean, hunters, it's all nature, right? The animals are nature. Where we live in is nature. Humans are not. Humans are part of nature, right?
But
So we play a part
we've
in it.
created our own kind of nature with the cultural shift that we've had.
But did we create animal populations?
No, but I think we view them differently based on our society, based on our culture.
Explain that.
Basically, you're living in two realities.
The walled garden, the jungle, the cement jungle, the cities.
Well, in one reality, you value the currency. In the other reality, you value the skills that it takes to go get your food. Because when it comes down to it, how are you gonna get your meat? How are you gonna get your food? It's going to be you go buy it, or you go get it.
Yep.
So is it the skills that are valued or the currency? Our society is beginning to value the currency more.
Yeah. It's speaking in terms of meat, I think besides just valuing the currency, they value the efficiency and the ease. So they love how easy it is to go through the McDonald's drive-through and order a hamburger. They love that. I mean, some people, obviously, some people don't. But what I love the experience that it takes to go kill that hamburger, that deer, so you can make a venison burger.
Well,
I love
and do
the
you
experience.
prepare all your own food as well?
Well, yeah. I butcher my own animals, process them, package them.
Do you think that's more grotesque than what they do at slaughterhouses?
Oh, 100%. No, it's way more humane. I mean, if you think about it, you're taking an animal, which is a cow, we'll say a cow, you're breeding that in captivity, so all they know is captivity, and then they spend their life in captivity. They never see the free open world, just being free, going wherever they want. There's always a fence, there's always a cage in their life. What I do is I kill animals that live a wonderful and natural life. They can go anywhere they want. There's no fences ever involved. Maybe unless they run up on a cattle ranch or something, but they are completely free, and then they die at my arrow in 30 seconds.
Right.
I mean, it's
they also live a long life.
Hopefully.
If you're targeting the right animal.
Exactly, yes. Which is what you want to target, and it doesn't always end up like that, but that is what you're gunning for.
Why do people have that idea that they want to go get the biggest? Is it for the trophy?
What's your question? Why do
people want to go get the biggest male in the population?
Because it's the smartest. So if take a deer that's lived 1 year versus a deer that's lived 5 years, that year-old deer might see a human and just be curious. I mean, it's only been alive for a year. It may have never seen a human. It doesn't know they're dangerous. So that 5-year-old deer, it knows you are dangerous, and it knows how to stay away from you.
Really? So they can learn.
They definitely learn. 100% they learn. I mean, they're not rocks. They learn. They are somewhat intelligent, and they're way more intelligent than, well, it's tough to say. They know their environment. They live out there. They live in the mountains, in the woods, so they know their environment so well, and they know how to use their environment to survive.
Right.
So killing the oldest Animal, it says something about your ability to outsmart that smart animal, that old animal in its own home.
Right. So it's not all about getting the big trophy.
No, it's not about getting the trophy necessarily. I mean, the trophy is definitely something that signifies the journey you went through to get there. I mean, it's a hell of a journey to kill a mature animal like that. So it signifies what you went through, just as an award on your wall might signify the work you put in for whatever task.
Certifications.
Yes, certifications. So those are trophies, but that's not the main goal of the adventure.
Right.
There's underlying goals that you're trying to accomplish when you're out there.
Right. Well, people get very upset when they see trophy hunting because people are taking animals that they're not utilizing for food.
Yeah, that's what people assume. I dare say most hunters are eating and using what they kill. I'd say a majority of hunters are, but they get the bad rap for just being trophy hunters, for just killing it for the antlers.
Right.
I would say the majority of the time that's not what's happening.
What other kind of common arguments do you see in the hunting community with anti-hunters?
Man, there's so many just illogical ones that.
What about the
So
economics of it?
Well, that's a lot of people don't know about it. I mean, without hunters, there's so most people, if you ask an anti-hunter, you ask them, well, what do you think about animal conservation? Should we be funding that? Should we partake in animal conservation? What conservation is, just the studies of populations, studies of animals, studies of their habitats, how they live, how they eat, everything, how they die. And we put money towards that, just the society as a whole. We pay for animal conservation. That's to better animals, that's to better their habitat,
Right. There's a tax
everything.
on that, right?
Well, and so you ask anti-hunters that, and they would say, yes, we need to keep that going. That's a good cause, very good use of our dollars. And then you ask them, well, where is that money coming from? And none of them know. And there's a tax actually on all hunting items. That could be camo, that could be guns, that could be bows, that could be GPSs,
Right.
binoculars. I mean, any hunting equipment. There's a law passed that there must be a tax, and I don't know the exact number, but you pay a percentage of that item's value to the government for animal conservation.
Do you know how much money that raises?
A ton.
86 million per year.
A ton, yeah. And do you know the percentage of that?
I don't.
Probably 80 to 90%. I dare say it's 80 to 90% of animal conservation comes strictly from hunters.
Raises $86 million per year for conservation.
And so let's ban hunting. Where does that money come from? Where does that 86 million come from? You think Joe Blow, who's buying McDonald's, you think he wants to pay another $50 every week for animal conservation that he just
Right.
spoke so highly of?
Right.
No, he doesn't want to do that. But
Well-
he won't have a problem with bashing hunters for doing what they do.
Right.
Even though we fund the livelihood of the animals.
Makes sense. And you fund the land.
What's that?
You fund the land too.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's all a system, and the hunters are a big part of it. You take hunters out, you're chopping off a whole section of the system. And I don't know. You would struggle to function without hunters.
Right. But it's dangerous, Nate.
What is hunting?
Hunting's so dangerous. You
Yeah,
have a,
yeah,
you have a weapon.
Driving down the street's pretty dangerous. Pretty damn dangerous, if you ask me.
Nate, you got a weapon.
Yeah, you do have a weapon, but
Do you think that some people aren't cut out? I mean, as a guide, would you ever turn somebody down that you didn't feel was
depends on the
equipped?
hunt. It depends on the hunt itself. So if you have to, like I said, there's outfits that pack you in on horseback. Well, there's also hunting outfits like in Alaska that'll make you hike 20 miles
Right.
just to set up camp. So there's no horses, there's no riding. There's just, hey, you hiking up mountains to get to base camp, and then you set up there and you hunt off of there, and you might go another 20 miles just from base camp. And so now you kill an animal and you're 40 miles out from town, from where you need to get to.
So let's say they have the money to pay you to go do this, and they don't know they don't know what they're doing.
That's what you're there for. That's what they're paying you for.
Well, I was watching the movie Everest,
Yeah.
and this guide it was his responsibility to get these people to the top of Mount Everest, and back down alive. Well, they give them 60 grand at the bottom of the mountain, and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Is that even fair? I mean,
Well, that goes back to the love of currency, huh?
I guess
Against someone's better judgment of, hey, this person probably can't make it, but here's 60 G sitting in front of me.
Right.
You know, yeah, there has to be, the good thing with hunting guides is there's levels.
Right.
So on the same hunt, let's talk backpack hunting where you're hiking in on your feet, like we were just talking about it in Alaska, there's levels. So there's people that can go 20 miles to base camp, hike that, be fine, wake up the next morning and start hunting hard. If you experience a client that can't do that, then you drop them down a couple levels. Maybe you pack in 5 miles. So
But they're less likely to get an animal at that
they're
point.
not necessarily. They're less likely, I would say, to get a mature animal, but they're going to see animals. I mean, there's animals everywhere. We could walk outside and see a deer maybe here in Marquette, Michigan.
Right.
It's quite often in the city. But yeah, so that's with hunting guiding. There's ambiguity to kind of the experience. When you're saying, "Hey, I'm paying to go up Everest," there's no ambiguity there. There's no levels. There's, "Hey, you got to the top of the mountain or you
Right.
didn't get to the top of the
Or
mountain."
you die.
Or you die. So that's what's tough about an Everest guide is you really do have to judge on a yes or no level, on a binary level. Either they can make it to that top or they can't. Hunting guiding, you can take their money and say, okay, they can't go 20 miles, they
Right.
can't hike 20 miles, but they could hike 8.
Now, what would you say what's the most dangerous aspect of,
Hunting,
yeah, or guiding,
Guiding,
in
just
those
being
kind
out
of
in the-
mountain, terrain?
the weather.
Yeah.
The weather, I mean, chances are slim. Depends. I mean, grizzly country is obviously dangerous. Plenty of maulings happening from grizzly, but I think I would be more worried about the weather and being snowed in. I mean, you can get back in those mountains, and if a foot of snow, 2 feet of snowfall, you're kind of stuck. If you don't have a sled or something that can go through that snow. I've read plenty of stories of people that'll pack in, go on a hunt into the mountains, and snow falls that night, super heavy. And now they're in trouble because walking through snow is so hard, so difficult. When there's a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet of snow, so difficult. And so I've read plenty of stories, a couple just from the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, very rugged mountain range, where people were in there. A huge storm hit, and now they're stuck back there. They were sitting in their tents for a little while, trying to ride out the storm. Finally, some brave man gets up and tries to get back to civilization, try to get some help for his friends, and obviously he doesn't make it. Dies on the side of a mountain. And
So this isn't your typical, I'm gonna go out in the tree stand and drink beer kind of hunt.
no, this is a lot different. This westward hunting and up north hunting, like Alaska, some Canada. That's the hunting I really love because it's rugged, it's tough. It's not driving 10 minutes in your truck, parking it, and walking 100 feet to your tree stand and sitting all day. It's a lot different than that. It's climbing mountains. It's getting back into rugged terrain. It's spotting animals and stalking them. It's pretty tough.
So what about getting lost? Is that ever a risk?
That's a close second with weather, I'd say.
Yeah.
People that aren't experienced, don't have the land nav ability. Getting lost back there's a real possibility.
Land nav ability, what's that mean?
Just being able to navigate terrain that you're in without having a phone on you, a GPS, so it shows your every movement. I mean, being able to recognize points. So in the mountains, it's a lot easier than here in like Marquette. So if St. Mary's Peak was a peak I was around, and I mean, it's huge. I don't even know the elevation of St. Mary's, but it's the largest peak around the area in the Bitterroot. Most times, if you're on a mountain, you get high enough elevation, you can see St. Mary's Peak. So that gives you 1 point of knowledge,
Right.
And you can get a
Point of reference.
point of reference exactly. Now you need to pick out one other point, whether that be a lake or another mountain, and you can draw a line from point 1 and point 2, find the intersecting point, and know exactly where you are. I mean, within reason.
Okay.
But you can find yourself pretty accurately. So that's just one aspect of land nav. I mean, just being able to recognize like your cardinal directions
Without a
with
compass.
exactly, and kind of knowing where the sun sets. I mean, there's many different things that play into land
And they
navigability.
taught you most of this?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of figure it out yourself. You can't just kind of read a book and know this stuff.
Right.
But they emphasized it a lot. We did things like I was driven up through the mountains, and I wasn't looking at a blindfold on, and
Really? They
yep,
blindfold you?
blindfolded me, and we got dropped off. Give me a map and a compass, and say, get us back to a road, a city, something. Get us somewhere where we can find somebody.
It's legit.
And so you use what I just kind of went over real quick. You find reference points. You kind of figure out what you know, and you kind of draw bearings with a compass on a map, and you can kind of get an idea of where you're at.
Did you pass?
I did pass.
Right on.
I did pass.
And that shit doesn't scare you at all.
No, it doesn't scare me. No.
No?
I mean, I sure as hell, I've been lost before, and I sure was scared. I just like putting myself in uncomfortable positions, and you kind of learn, just like, I mean, you roll, you're into jits.
hmm
You know, you get comfortable in uncomfortable positions.
Well, I think those uncomfortable times, it's a good reminder of what's truly a challenge. And I think challenge is like super important
Challenge is so healthy.
in appreciating the downtime,
So healthy.
appreciating the rest.
Yeah.
Because if you don't challenge yourself, you're not getting satisfied
Nope.
when you do get to rest.
Mm-hmm. You take the rest for granted when you're not challenging yourself, you're not working.
Right.
And if you're just always sitting around being mindless, doing nothing, it's just another day.
So is there anywhere you are afraid to go? Now, we're getting a little bigger. Think about the world.
I just saw a video today of a some ship, like a cargo ship, massive ship going through the ocean. And I mean, you've seen a cargo ship, they're massive
Yeah.
ships, huge, unbelievable. I can't even give you a reference. I mean, they're just massive.
Like
And
some of those freighters coming out of
yes,
the harbor.
and this thing was getting pushed around like a little toothpick in the ocean. I mean, massive waves coming over it. I would not fuck with that. Not at all.
Not about the ocean life.
not the dangerous ocean.
It blows me away that people live their lives on a boat in the past.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. You seen those places out in Africa where their homes are built on the water?
hmm
Like on the Amazon River, the Nile River, whatever river they're on. It's pretty crazy, and they're diving off their front deck to get fish for lunch.
Yeah, with spears.
Yep, that's crazy. That's so crazy to me.
They're just hunting, man.
Yeah, they are fishing. Yep.
So, would you travel there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just to see what life is like. I mean, I've seen it, but I want to experience it.
So, you wouldn't take a 3-day vacation?
It would need to be a little longer than that.
What about vacation, Nate? Do you believe in vacation, Nate?
Of course, you got to have time to rest, get away from things, and relax. I mean, I don't take a lot of vacations right now, but that's because I'm still grinding. I'm still working towards the end goal, and don't have time for rest until like I've hit those milestones that I've set. You know, hit those achievements, then you can celebrate the achievements, take a break, go on vacation, but I'm still working
Go
towards
chill
those.
on the beach?
Yep. I'm still.
Yup, that's your ideal vacation, huh?
No, that wouldn't be my
If you
ideal
have the
vacation.
time, if you have the time to travel, you get some time off. Are you going
Man.
to chill?
I might. I mean, what's
Doesn't sound like
Bora Bora? You know,
doesn't
I've
sound
seen
like
some-
Montana was much of a chill.
That wasn't a vacation. No, it wasn't a vacation. Like I said, I'm not ready for vacations yet.
Yeah.
Still working, grinding. So till that time comes where a vacation is needed and it's called for, probably won't be taking them. I'll take trips. I mean, I think trips are different than vacations. Take trips, experience new cultures, experience new things. But it's not a vacation. I'm not going there to relax and get away from things.
Would you say Montana was your best trip ever?
I don't know. Took a trip to Canada, flew in on an island and just fished for a week. That was a pretty awesome trip with some family members. Those two are up there.
What would
Those two
be
are definitely up there.
What would be your ideal
Ideal what? Hunting trip or
If you just
vacation?
go. If we're planning it right now, you could go.
And I could do anything?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so tough. I don't even know.
You don't think about it?
No, I don't fantasize a lot. No. I'd love to get up in Alaska in the mountains, maybe hunt a brown bear. That'd be awesome, or a goat up there. Be seriously awesome. I think about that sometimes, but I know that's going to happen in my future life. I will be doing that.
Now, do you think you could take your skills and make what you do on the road?
It's not something I ever thought about. And I'm still working out what my skills are that are going to better society as a whole. So, yes, I have skills today that I can use and that I'm good at, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can impact society as a whole with those skills. And so, no, I wouldn't want to go out and just travel and try to make money doing that and impacting people because I don't quite know what that looks like yet. And so that's what I'm kind of searching for and trying to figure out.
So what would you say your main skill set would be?
It's tough. I mean, I'm a doer like we've maybe established here. I don't think about stuff. I just go out and do it. So I make things happen.
Well,
I
that's
think
good
that's a
because
skill
when you
set.
think about things too long, you usually
Nothing
overthink
happens.
it. You
Nothing
you might
happens,
talk
right?
yourself right out of it.
Exactly. Nothing happens when you sit there and think about it. So I think that's a very good skill set I have. Now there's downfalls to that, but I think overall that's a good skill set. Is if I see something, I like it, I think there's opportunity, I'm gonna do it. I'm
Right.
gonna act on it. On top of that, I mean, I'm a logical guy, so logic really plays a big part into what I do. Plays a part into the operations I perform. On top of skills, I mean, yeah, that's I don't know, very introspective question. I don't.
Sorry about that.
I don't
know.
really sit here and list out my skills, even though it's a really good thing. Just knowing what your skills and your
Computer.
computers and your vulnerabilities. I mean, it's a very important thing. I mean, you really do need to know it, and that's something that I would say is one of my downfalls. Is I don't maybe think about what my skill set is enough, or what I'm best at, or what I should stay away from.
Like, where's your place? Where's
Yes.
your place?
Yes,
What's the world missing, Nate?
world's missing a lot. It's about what you're in the position to solve. Because there's plenty of things that the world needs, but you can't fit every single one of those pieces. Given your shape, given your skill set, you can't always fit yourself into that spot. And so the battle becomes figuring out what you can do to fill a need in the world. You're not going to be able to fill every need, but you need to figure out where you're positioned to fill the certain need that the world needs. And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
How? How do you educate yourself?
Experiencing things, people, talking to people, just really putting yourself in that position.
That's kind of the beautiful thing about conversation is you don't have any idea who you're talking to until you really start to break it down and pick their brain.
Yeah, I noticed that's something you really like, and I don't even ever think about that, but yeah, it really is.
Well, constantly learning. If you constantly talk to people,
Yeah,
you're getting
learning.
fresh perspectives, and you're constantly. That's kind of why I started the podcast.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's awesome that you just have people on here, you talk to them, you pick their brain.
It's
That's awesome.
spontaneous. It's kind of like you're talking. Like I just kind of went for it. I bought a few microphones, and here we
Not quite
are.
spontaneous when you call me at 7 a.m. this morning and say, hey, we're podcasting at 7 p.m. tonight. It's not really spontaneous,
Oh,
but hey.
sorry, 12 hours. I gave you 12 hours. How'd you spend your new year?
My
First
new year?
day. First day of January.
Well, had a couple calls talking about some blockchain things that are happening. Did some work on that, and then just trained. Just got done.
Okay,
It's
we'll break those two things down real quick here. What did you say? Blockchains?
Yeah, let's say new technology I'm really involved in, and really just I get behind it. I mean, I totally see being given the background I have, which is in computer science, this is a game changer. And the end user might not realize it. They might not understand what's going on, but blockchain technology is a huge game changer.
Well, Is that kind of what you're doing at 906 right now?
It's not what I'm doing. So blockchain's very new, and there's very limited established companies that are doing anything with
Mm-hmm.
it. It's grown, definitely grown in the past 3 years, but no, it's in the same industry, you could say, in computer science. I mean, I build an EMR system, which is electronic medical records system for doctors' offices around the UP in Wisconsin. So that's what I do at 906. But my real interest is in blockchain technology. And so while they are both computer science related, they are not the same thing.
Right. So how do you work on two things at once? You're doing medical records and you're doing blockchain?
Well, you're not chilling.
Not much.
You're not just hanging out chilling. Tell you that.
Taking calls.
Yeah, there's a lot to get done when you have a full-time job and you got to train, and then you got another business you got to work
Well,
on.
you don't have to train.
I guess I don't have to, but I do have to.
I get it. I
I
get
mean,
it.
I don't have to, but yeah, I have to,
Right.
if that makes sense.
So what is a blockchain?
So blockchain is a data structure. Just like a data structure, you could say, is a database. Everyone's familiar with a database, I'm sure. So that's just a database is a data structure. Well, blockchain is also a data structure. And what blockchain allows you to do is it's a decentralized data structure. Meaning, if you interact with Facebook, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, you interact with Facebook, the company, which is a single entity, and they hold your information, they control your information. Do you know how Facebook makes their money?
No.
Not from people like you and me. Well, kind of, but
Marketing.
not
right?
from
You pay them to market for you.
you. No, they take their data that they've collected on you and
They
I,
sell it to you.
and they sell it to a marketer.
Mm-hmm.
So really, they're just aggregating data and selling it to marketers and selling attention. So they know that me and you and 1.7 other billion people's attention is on that platform. So they sell space and time to marketers. And that is one entity doing that, right? That's Facebook. So that's a centralized database of information. Now we could break it down and say, well, Facebook owns 100 or 1,000 different servers. So is it really centralized? Yes, because the same entity owns and controls those same 1,000 servers. So what a blockchain does is it decentralizes it. So instead of one entity holding all the data, every entity on the network holds the data.
Right.
So there's not one person you could target and say they hold it, so let's shut them down and shut down the whole network, right? If you
Well,
shut
that's what
down
hackers-
Facebook,
That's what hackers do. right?
exactly, that's what hackers do. If you want to shut down Facebook, you attack Facebook and the however many servers they have. And if you accomplish that, Facebook will be shut down, right?
Yeah.
If you take down their servers. With a blockchain, if you try to target the blockchain and take the blockchain down, you have to go to every single peer on the network. You can't miss one because every single peer holds all the data.
Right.
So you can't miss even a single one because if you miss one, the data is still alive and it's still in circulation.
So how will that change how we do things in the future?
Well, that's only one little aspect of blockchain that's super important and super like value adding to the society. So
So
another
it's
one,
not hackable.
it's not hackable. That's another one we can get into. So once a record or data, I mean those are interchangeable kind of. Once data goes on the blockchain, there's no changing that, and that's due to mathematical proofs and cryptography. There's no changing that record. It's on there. It's permanent. So that offers an interesting aspect to blockchain because databases, while they're made to be secure and they're made to be very unhackable, which they aren't. I mean, all software is hackable. While they're made to be secure, they're not always secure. If you give a smart hacker enough time and enough resources, most databases can be hacked, records can be changed, data can be manipulated. On the blockchain, it's not software. Blockchain is completely built off of mathematical proof, straight math. 2 plus 2 always equals 2, doesn't matter. So there is no hacking math. Therefore, there is no hacking blockchain. As long as you know good data is going on the blockchain, then there's no manipulating that data or changing it for a hacker's benefit. That's super interesting. It's the first time we've taken software systems and made them immutable, which is unchangeable. So once data is on the blockchain, there's no mutating that data. There's no changing that to your liking or anybody's liking. It is what it is. And so, like I said, it might be very hard to see why that's beneficial. But being
Like, what are you gonna do with that? Who cares?
Who cares? Exactly. That's what a lot of people say. But it changes the game heavily. So there's a couple different things I'm working on personally with it. That's in the not software. That's in the construction business, and that's also in the pharmaceutical business. And so two different aspects. So you've got a project in the construction business, maybe a commercial office space down in Chicago. You've got 100 different subcontractors. You have a general contractor on top of that. And I've been working with a team out of Arizona. They go to ASU, and they're in the industry. They're in the construction industry. And they are witnessing small subcontractors that work on these projects that are going under because their cash flow is negative. And that's because getting payments from general contractors and clients takes days and months and maybe even years to have happen, because first the general contractor gets paid, then the next subcontractor gets paid, then the next subcontractor. And I mean, if you have a tier of 100 people, it could take a few months to see cash.
After it's already done.
After the job's been done, your service has been provided, it could take months to see that cash.
Right.
And to perform your operation, it takes cash. I mean, to put up drywall, you have to pay for that drywall. There's has to be an outflow of cash out of your business right away on the spot, or maybe even a month. Sometimes they'll do 30-day payments. But at the end of the day, they don't ever see the return on that for months on end.
Right.
And that's a problem. That's sending small companies underwater, and they can't perform their operations anymore. So what we want to do is we want to take blockchain and make that payment system efficient, make it open to the public. So with a blockchain, everything, since due to the cryptography of it, everything can be preserved while everything's public. So you can see everything, but you can't change it and you can't mutate it for your benefit. Like, it's just there. So we want to take that and make the payment system more efficient in the construction business, making it open to all parties involved in a project and speeding up the process of payments.
Gotcha.
So it's really game changing, and there's a few people around the world, not a few, but it's kind of a general term. There's a small group of people that realize the change that the blockchain can bring, and they're slowly working on it. We're seeing solutions to different problems that are coming up, but by and all, it's not mainstream yet, and that's super interesting.
So who turned you on to this shit?
Oh man, I'm not even sure. I mean, so Bitcoin is something a lot of people have heard about. I'm sure you've heard about. And Bitcoin is built off of blockchain. It's not the same thing. It's using a currency built off of blockchain. That's what Bitcoin is. And I've been following Bitcoin since 2013. I mean, since it was $100, it is now at maybe 15K. So it's grown tremendously.
It's up and down though.
It's up, well, with any currency. If you look at the USD has a value, and it's always changing. Second by second, the United States dollar's real value is changing.
Well, that's because we don't
see that.
back it up like we used to. Correct?
No, it's because there's a free market. So people can buy. So let's take your computer that's sitting in front of us. A free market is, hey, you want to go sell that computer, you need to go find a buyer. So let's say I'm a buyer, I'm in the market for a computer. You come to me, there's no set price for that computer, right? I mean, maybe if you went on Amazon, but let's take all that out. So now you want to sell me that computer, and I want to buy that computer. We need to agree on a price. I throw out a price. I say $100. You say, no, that's too low. I want $200, and we haggle down to $150. So that's what a free market is. It's just linking buyers and sellers and getting them to agree on a price. That is what the currency market is. It's a buyer and seller agreeing on a price. So that price is not set. It's whatever the buyer agrees to. It's whatever the seller agrees to.
Gotcha.
And obviously, when there's 1,000 to 1,000,000 exchanges happening in a minute, the prices are going to differ. And so therefore, second by second, minute by minute, the value of assets are changing. and that's USD because USD is an asset. So it's changing second by second.
So isn't that dangerous for us?
It's not really dangerous because the volatility. So what volatility is the change in price. So you could say Bitcoin is very volatile because today it could be 15K, tomorrow it could be 10K. Could lose a third of its value. That's very volatile. But the USD, it's a very liquid market and it's low volatility. So today it could be compared to the yen, it could be $1, and tomorrow it could be $1.02. So 2 cents out of $1 is not that much, and so the volatility is low on it.
Gotcha.
But Bitcoin is a very volatile currency, and that's why people.
So they talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency being like the new gold standard. So we're able to back up these. And this is because of blockchain technology? You say they're related.
Well, so blockchain allows us to take a concept. So blockchain basically allows us to take a concept in math, implement it by a computer, and now it's worth $500 billion because that is the
value.
If you take how
set.
many Bitcoins are in circulation, and I don't know that number, if you take that number, maybe it's 15 million Bitcoins in circulation, times it by the price of one Bitcoin, which is 15K. Basically, that's market capitalization, and the market capitalization of Bitcoin right now is sitting at around $500 billion. Crazy amount. So what blockchain allows us to do is take a computer concept, well, really it's a mathematical concept, implement it by a computer, and then attach a value to it because it's immutable. So there's enough trust involved where, hey, if I put $5 into this, no one can take the $5 I just spent to get this asset and spend that same $5. That's called the double spend problem, and that's an actual like problem in computer science and in economics that's a lot of economists study, called the double spend. And what the blockchain does is actually solve the double spend problem. Being immutable, having IDs attached to every transaction, you could never spend the same transaction twice.
Because of the time and
Because of the immutability of the blockchain, it can't happen. Just due to math. Not due to software, due to math, you can't ever double spend it.
now, did they teach you to understand this kind of stuff in school?
No. No, and I actually was talking to a professor yesterday if they were going to implement any courses related to blockchain, and they don't foresee that happening, but this professor is definitely behind it.
Yeah.
And I mean, computer science is interesting where they teach you fundamentals of systems and computers and computer programming and how computers function, and then they kind of send you off. So while no, they don't say, "Hey, this is how a blockchain works," but what a computer science program does is teach you the math and the software engineering,
To enable you to understand it?
yeah, to understand anything related to computer science.
So, what's a system?
A system, that's very broad. I mean, what you're recording this audio with is a system. It's an audio system. What you use to buy plane tickets and then get boarded on a plane, that's a system.
Right.
Quality control systems inside of huge enterprises, that's a system. A system is totally abstract. A system is just I mean, you understand what I'm getting at. Could you understand a system unrelated to a computer? Because systems are unrelated to computers. And I'm struggling to describe it, but it's in an abstract way. System is totally unrelated to a computer.
It's basically a way of operating to get things done. I mean,
Yeah.
like a system,
Yeah.
you could probably build something using a system.
Yes, 100%. And
Or
that's
create
the way a lot of it's the way a lot of computer applications get built are off of already built systems. Because if you think about a computer, all it understands is ones and zeros. It's all it understands. So can you imagine building Facebook using ones and zeros?
I don't think we're
Unfathomable.
I don't think we're capable.
Someone is. There's some smart computer science people that actually know that could, given enough time and enough resources, could make that happen. But
Now,
the
how do
fact,
you program if you're not using ones and zeros?
so they've abstracted the ones and zeros concept to called binary language.
Mm-hmm.
So they've abstracted it to what's called assembly language, and that's still I couldn't explain it to people, but it's very, very primitive in computer language. It's all
Mm-hmm.
hexadecimal. It's very primitive. Even assembly language, you couldn't really build super big
So it's
applications with.
literally a language in itself.
Yes, and so they've abstracted from binary to assembly to other languages like C or Java or JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
So they've just built off top of these systems, which is binary language is kind of a system, assembly language is kind of a
None of
system.
this stuff even existed in the old job market. Now
Now
it's
it's huge.
huge.
It's massive.
Now, but won't these new technologies be able to replace these people as well?
Yeah, they will.
How
People have
quickly?
hard feelings about
How
that. I have
quickly?
no idea. I mean, we're seeing jobs at McDonald's being taken over with menus and screens and ordering systems
Right,
in the lobby where there's no one to take your order. You just input it on a screen.
right.
So it's starting. I mean, with you asking how long is it going to take, I have no idea because I don't know the scope of that question. Like, okay, how long till 80% of the jobs get
I
taken?
mean, not even jobs, but it's already replacing people.
It is, yes. And it's only going to go farther.
Literally replacing people.
Yep. How do you feel about that?
It scares me a little bit.
Does it? Do
Yeah.
you feel replaceable?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, because
So why does it scare you?
and it doesn't scare me. It scares me from a humanitarian standpoint.
Because you think we owe jobs to people? Like we
No,
owe it to someone to give them a job so we can pay them?
well, I just feel like our population is so huge that where are these people going to find how are they going to find a way to survive?
That's something. This goes so deep, and it's something I'm very conflicted on because part of me says, "Hey, figure out a way to add value to society, and you will do just
There's
fine."
not enough spots.
That's true. But I mean, I guess that comes from people just bitching about their job and how they make minimum wage, and they're like, "Well, I deserve 12. Why do you deserve $12? What value do you bring to make me pay you more? Like, it's not a right for me to pay you money. Like, you
Right.
need to give me value." That's really how maybe I just hold a very capitalistic view on society, but it's like you need to give me something for me to give you something. And a lot of people these days, it doesn't seem like that's their
It's not
mentality.
fair the way that people are brought up, though. Are they brought up with the,
Well, no, they aren't. They're brought up in awful homes where that is the mentality.
well, not even that, I mean, equal opportunity in education? You know what I mean? I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone might get the same education, but what is the standard of that education?
Yeah, it's a very tough it's a very tough subject to talk about. I've got conflicting views on it, but
I
I don't
just
know.
don't think the value is being taught in schools. Let's say high school, for
They
example.
definitely have the schools these days, which are devised by the government. They're heavily oriented towards STEM, which is science, technology,
Mhm.
engineering, and math.
English,
Is it English?
probably.
I think it's engineering.
Okay.
It's all mathematics and engineering technology related, and that's very heavily pushed. So, like you said, English is not pushed. Art is not pushed in our school system. Athletics are not pushed. While we have those classes, they are not like the school system is not heavily oriented to that. The school system is heavily oriented towards math, engineering, sciences. That's what the government wants. They want advancements in their weapons. They want advancements in their economics.
They have an agenda.
In art, what does art do? Art just makes people happy. Art doesn't better the government, so the
I don't
government doesn't.
know. You're walking on thin ice there. There's a lot of people who could back art up.
I know this is being devil's advocate here. This is
Yeah.
from the government's point of view. The government does not see art as a way of advancing their entity, which is the
Their
government.
agenda.
Yes, their agenda. It's not a good way of advancing their agenda. And so they heavily orient the school system to go towards these STEM industries, and that's not where everybody falls.
Right.
So the people that are artists, that are just born to be an artist, like they're damn good at what they do.
Musicians.
Exactly. The school system is going to fail them, straight fail them. And so yes, in that aspect, the value is not all there in the education system. And so
Right.
even entrepreneurs that have value to add, they just don't know how to get the value out there. They're
weren't
gonna
taught.
they're gonna struggle from actually like going through the school system and taking what the
Right.
school system has taught them
No,
and try to implement it.
they also value information. They want you to learn information and know it for the test that you're going to take at the end of the week, so you can write it down, regurgitate what you read, put it back on paper, turn it in, get
Something
your grade.
I absolutely hate. Regurgitation.
Memorizing.
Memorizing. Something I absolutely hate.
It's just that you don't. They don't.
Because
They're not
is it
teaching.
learning? You learn for a year or however
They're not
long.
teaching any critical thinking
Yeah.
skills.
Yep.
How to connect the dots.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
concepts. They give you some
How
concepts.
how to
and
apply
ideas.
that knowledge? Okay, so you know that 80% of the job market is a white Caucasian male. I don't even know. That's pretty stereotypical statistic. But so now you know that, and you could write that down on a test. How can you utilize that information to better society as a whole? That's what they don't
It's
teach.
very difficult to connect that with whatever you're trying to solve, because when you look at your profession, it's just solving a problem.
Super stereotypical statistic
I
I just
know.
threw out.
I know that was
I didn't-
obviously arbitrary. And
Yeah, very. But Mike Robar actually he's doing a master's in applied statistics. We were just talking about that today.
is he teaching?
Mike Robar?
Yeah.
No,
No.
he works with Kale.
Right, but there is an engineer at RTI who is teaching at NMU as well.
Really?
Yeah.
You know the name?
Mohar.
Can't say
I
I've
believe.
came across
It
them.
was kind of funny. I saw a guy up at Mount Bohemia, and he was on a snowboard, and we were talking. And he's like, we got to talking. We're both from Marquette, and then I asked him if he knew any of the guys from RTI because he was an engineering professor here at NMU, and he was like, yeah, I know all those guys, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about how he knew one of them is teaching right now, Mohar.
It's interesting. Small world up here, right?
Not
Marquette.
a lot of people.
Small
Not
world.
a lot of people.
Legitimately.
It's cool though. It's cool to be like very
It's
inner.
a tight knit community.
Exactly. And
It's small, but it's tight knit.
yeah, everyone kind of cares about each other, and I think that has something to do with the weather.
Really?
You
Really?
you weather the winter together, and then you appreciate the summer.
I could see it.
'Cause
I
everyone
could see it.
kinda-
You
everyone-
appreciate everybody. You're like, fuck, I love this weather. I
Yeah.
love my neighbor.
because everyone has to go through that struggle.
Yeah.
It's like
Struggle,
a
man.
A group of people goes
It
through a
all comes down to
everyone
struggle.
Gets a little bit closer to one another.
The advancements we've made in society are totally a double-edged sword.
Well, we're not getting that
100%.
struggle anymore.
No, and that's what I
There's
mean.
no
like,
adversity.
it's our society is so efficient, that you don't have to experience a challenge at all if you don't want to.
If you don't want to.
If you don't want to, if you want to cocoon yourself in a safe environment, you can do that in today's society.
Well, you can sit behind a desk and under air quotations, you're successful,
Yeah.
and this
Well,
is
even
because you
so-
can raise a family. you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, even you can get challenged
Literally.
behind a desk.
Yeah, I agree.
You could definitely get challenged, but you can take a job that doesn't challenge you. You could take a job that doesn't challenge you. You could go home, watch TV, say hi to the kids, and fucking live your life day in, day out doing that. No challenge whatsoever for your life, but you're going to be that asshole on Facebook yelling, like just chewing out some dude or whatever for whatever reason, just because you have no challenge. So you need an outlet for that energy that you have, because humans have energy inside of them, I feel, that is meant to like take on a challenge. And some of us, we exert that energy, others don't, and they find other ways to output that energy. And
What's
so
your output?
whether that be trolling on Facebook, whether that be putting rude comments on YouTube videos, whether that be
That's what you do?
that's not what
That's
I do.
your outlet?
I find healthy ways for
What's
my
your healthy
outlet.
ways, huh?
I train a lot. I
You,
fight
you
Muay Thai.
You lift, bro? Is that what you're
I
talking
haven't in months, man. It's kind of killing me.
about?
It's really killing me. I haven't lifted in months.
Yeah. So you train Muay Thai.
Yep.
How do you start? How do you get into something like that?
Man, I was so against it. I
Fighting?
was so against Muay Thai.
Why?
Buddy Jesse got me into it, and strictly a power lifter in those days, like just lifting heavy weight as much as I could, just bulking hard, eating as much as I could, lifting, all about them gains, bro. And he's like, hey, come down to the gym one day. I was like, can't do
That's
that.
totally different.
Can't do that. Too much cardio. I was against cardio in those days.
Freshman year, you were against cardio?
Yeah, totally against cardio.
Ruthless.
Like burning too many calories. I need those calories that I'm burning to build gains.
Yeah, games.
So he took me down to the gym and I started going, and I don't know, it was pretty instantaneous. Like,
How long? How
fuck.
long between just starting to train and you fight?
Oh,
Correct?
it was a while. It was a while.
So you compete now?
about a year.
Right.
I trained for about a year before I actually fought. And I mean, for that year, like I didn't even want to fight.
Right.
I was scared to fight. I was like, fuck, do I have to fight somebody?
Yeah. Yes, you do. You do. Nate. You don't have to though.
Because I knew the pressure was there. Like Dan saw it. Dan was like, oh, he wants to fight. He needs to fight. But I was still like indifferent on the matter.
Yeah.
And so, man, I would get done with practice some days and be like, fuck, do I have to fight somebody? Like he's gonna try and take my head off. I have to take his head off. Is that real?
It's a real game.
It's not a
So
game.
how did your
Ain't a
mentality?
game out here.
How does your mentality change after you go through it? You go through with it.
Man,
You
that
fight.
makes you stronger. I mean, putting yourself in that position where you're actively yourself walking out to a cage, ring, whatever it is, to take on some other human, that makes you stronger. And
How so?
can't put my finger on it, but I mean, you just know after doing that, you know you can take on conflict and adversity, and times when you're down, you can get through it.
Like literally, someone standing right in front of you saying,
And yeah,
"You're
that's
gonna
the
have to get
epitome.
through
Like,
me."
hey, I'm ready to fuck you up. What can you do about it? But then you can take that to business. Like, oh, there's something going on. I need to figure this out. There's a problem within the within our organization. We need to solve this, and it seems impossible. But no, it's doable, and I can get through it myself because I'm strong. Like, there's that abstraction to it.
So, do you think this has fueled your ego? This experience?
I mean, it's made me a more confident person, I think. I don't know how my ego relates to it. I mean, yes, my ego is confident,
Yeah.
but it's not
your
like
ego is who you think you are.
it doesn't give me an inflated ego. Like, it doesn't make me think that I'm better than I am, because I know what I don't know, and some things I don't even know I don't know. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are much better than me,
I know.
whether that be intelligence, fighting, anything. Hunters.
So that's humble. That's bringing your ego down a notch.
Yeah, I don't even know about humbleness. It just makes me eager. It just makes me want to get out there and fucking immerse myself in those people that are better than me.
Be better.
And just learn from them. That's really what it drives me to do.
Well, there's a quote. It says, "Your peers directly influence your own expectations of yourself."
Yeah,
So
I think
surrounding yourself with those people
that's huge.
has got to
absolutely
change. Has got to
huge.
change what you expect from yourself.
Yep. If you take that same quote, has been, I don't know if it's a made up quote or what, because there's a quote exactly like that that replicates that message in terms of net net value.
Right. The takeaway.
Yeah. So you'll be as wealthy as the average of your 5 peers around you. So if you average the 5 peers around you, their net worth, you will be the average of them. I mean, I've heard quotes of that, and I think that's very true.
That's interesting.
I think that's very true.
That's basically stats to back that up.
Yeah, they do. There's research out there.
Dang.
So it's super interesting. Nowadays, like back in the day, we didn't have big data like that. We didn't have an aggregation of huge data sets like that. And now we do.
Is that data privatized to where not everyone can see it? It's almost like
Some of it is, some of it isn't. Sometimes you have to pay for that data. Sometimes it's free.
what isn't
I mean, that's a
public.
whole industry.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's a whole industry is big data. So there's companies out there that just get revenue from collecting these huge data sets and selling it. That's a whole industry because of the power of big data. If you have true big data, you can make some serious claims based off the studies regarding those data.
Right. So when you think about what we know and what we're able to know, is that private information?
I don't get the question.
So these sets of data, are they valuable?
So, yes. Not every data set is valuable. I mean, if you take faulty data, there's
Is
no
there
reason.
data that's not open to the public?
Yes. I mean, think about it. The NSA has a program, and it's been released by Snowden in 2013, that the NSA has been collecting data on the entire United States, whether that be
Via
text messages,
Facebook or what?
no, text messages, phone calls, emails,
That
anything
scared
that
a lot
goes
of
over the
people.
internet. It scared a lot of people. That data set is not public.
Right.
Only
And
the
does the
government.
military kind of do the same thing with their data?
I mean, no one can say what the government or the military does because it's secret.
Right.
Yes, the government 100% or the military 100% has access to the data regarding society because that's what they use to vet terrorist operations. And so that's where the argument comes in. Like, hey, can you collect this data if it makes us safer, but weakens our privacy? That's the huge argument there.
Right.
I don't quite know where I stand on it, but that's a huge data set
Well,
that is privatized.
access about just any kind of information you like on Google, but there's some stuff that there's no access or limited access to.
Yeah,
Gotta be.
there's definitely limited access to a lot of stuff. Like I said, there's industries that collect this data, aggregate it, and sell it. You can't access that data without paying the dollar amount.
Right. Because it holds value.
Yeah, it holds huge value. Huge value.
Because it can be used to target demographics, whatever it may be.
It can be used for
and a lot of different things.
100 different things.
Right.
So I mean, I was looking at data sets for the historic price of a commodity. So I was looking at crude oil. I wanted a data set that went back 10 years, and it gave me the price of crude oil every 5 minutes for 10 years. I was looking at those data sets. Those would have costed me upwards of $2,000 to get that data.
How do you look at it?
I called a few different companies, asked them what their pricing would be, how they could work with me. And I mean, if you think about it, if you put yourself back 10 years, you could get that data because the price of crude oil is publicly available at every second of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Every second they update it. So if you had a ledger 10 years ago that you had yourself and you started marking down the prices of oil, you could go out and sell that for $500, $1,000, $2,000. But the fact is you didn't. You didn't
Right.
do that, but some company did, and now you have to pay them a large sum of money to get that data. So that's super interesting. And you can use that data for very powerful things.
This is why Nate's my technical assistant. It's not that interesting.
Not that interesting, but I find it super interesting.
Well, I'm sure that you're not alone either.
No, I'm 100% not alone.
Sometimes I have trouble grasping some of those concepts.
Yeah, I mean, different people, different skill sets, different interests.
But I do
So it's interesting.
I do understand the challenge behind Muay Thai. And
Yeah,
that's
yep.
a physical challenge standing in front of you.
Yep, it's kind of my outlet, as we talked before.
Well, an outlet is supposed to be kind of a healthy release of any kind of energy that.
And it almost incorporates more influx into my stress.
Well, it's interesting to me because I feel like some people would be totally stressed out in that kind of environment or situation.
There are. Yeah.
And you're telling me this is your stress relief.
Like I said, different people have different aspects, different interests, and I just fall into a class of people that find that interesting.
You know, everyone's different. Some people watch the news to relieve their stress. It stresses me out. you know?
Exactly.
Like
The same way.
my mom will sit back and watch the news. She's relaxing. What? It's nuts. It's nuts.
That's great.
I can't relax and watch the news.
I always think about what the fuck are they feeding me? Like they're feeding me. Like, is it truthful? What's going on here?
It's fake news. It's a disaster.
It's a
It's a disaster,
disaster.
this country.
Yeah, I don't know. Muay Thai is awesome. I mean, it really is. People won't align with it. People don't align with fighting, but it's super awesome.
What about, well, it's violent. It's
It's
dangerous.
violent, but
It's dangerous,
there's a
Nate.
science and there's an art to it. And that's what interests me.
What about sparring?
What about it?
You spar?
I do.
How do you feel about it?
I feel great. It's fun.
Stoked about
It's
it.
fun.
There's a lot of controversy there
Sometimes it's not fun.
with brain injuries and traumatic head
That's why
injuries.
it pays to have good sparring partners. It pays to
Right.
be in a good gym like I'm in, where people aren't trying to hurt you every day, but they're trying to drag you into deep water. And that comes from knowledge. That comes from experience of, hey, I can push someone this far without hurting them, but really putting them in the deep end, and that's a fine.
Well, that's good. It's good for you to be able to know that you can handle it. Where
Yeah.
you can thrive
it's
in
wonderful.
that gray
It's
area
wonderful.
where you're unsure, you're forced to be sure.
Yeah. Like, well, if you're not sure, you're gonna be in trouble.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Because you've never been there.
Yep.
And if someone pushes you there and you're not used to it and
Very
you're
uncomfortable.
yeah.
But you learn to deal with it. You learn to deal with the uncomfortableness. And that's awesome.
It's got to be an emotional roller coaster. Especially when you start to get in a ring.
Well, it is when you actually, okay, so this isn't for real. Like sparring, it's not for real in a sense, but it is real.
Right.
I mean, you're hitting somebody, you're hurting somebody potentially, but it's not real like, hey, I'm really trying to hurt you.
Right.
Like that is my one intention is trying to hurt you. And that's what happens when you get into a ring or you get into a cage is this person is trying to end you, trying to knock you out, trying to just hurt you so bad you want to quit. And so the emotions that lead up to that are just insane. I mean, the roller coaster you go on when you're waiting for your fight to be called. You might be the 8th fight of the night. You might be first. Who knows? But you're waiting for that fight to be called. You're getting ready mentally. You're visualizing what's going to happen. And now all of a sudden you're walking to the ring.
Right.
Like okay, quit visualizing because it's about to happen in T-minus 5 minutes.
Right. Start to get focused.
Yeah, so I mean that roller coaster is wild. It's the most wild roller coaster I've been on, and I've been on some wild roller coasters. It's an insane.
How many times have you done this?
Just 4, but plenty more to come in 2018. I've got
Oh, really?
at least well, I got maybe 3 in June, maybe 4. I mean, it's 1 to 4 is the number in June, and then I really want to get on one in March, down in Indianapolis. And I want to fight in March 10th so bad, but Coach can't make it, Dan can't make it, Brian
Right.
said he's down, and so that's a work in progress. We got some other fighters fighting in 20 days now, 19 days
It's
actually.
huge. You're gonna go watch him.
I'm gonna go watch him. Yep.
Right on.
Wish I could fight, but I'm indifferent on the matter. There's gonna be
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot better people fight. I mean, not to downplay who's fighting for our gym because we have some killers fighting in 19 days.
Yeah.
Some killers, but the people they will be fighting, I know we're gonna go there and we're gonna wreck the house. Like we're
Now,
gonna,
how did U.S. Muay Thai get started?
the history of that, I can't even tell you. So
Like, how does something like that come about up here? And now they're powerhouse. You said
Man,
they're
it's
gonna go down and wreck people.
a dude from Thailand, Kak is his name. Kak, we'll call him Kak.
Okay.
He came from Thailand, very, very Thai, like cultured in it. Very hard to speak English. Like I struggle to understand him, just because I struggle to understand foreign languages that are not spoken by computers. And so he's very Thai. He taught my coach. They would travel New York, California, Chicago. They would travel all over because this was back in the day when Muay Thai was not as
Right.
big as it is now, and it's even now pretty small. And so they would travel all over. He taught them. He fought in Thailand. He fought himself here in the States, multiple places. And so he started teaching my coach, who then just passed it down. And that's been here in Marquette.
And is it mainstream? Like a lot, like everyone in
Muay
Marquette
Muay
kind of
Thai?
knows? No, Marquette people know about U.S. Muay Thai?
No, no, and that's planned.
Yeah,
Like this is not a gym to generate revenue. This is a club.
right.
While it is a gym, it's a club. Like
Yeah.
it's a group of people that just love to train Muay Thai.
It's pretty cool.
It is very cool because you can find Muay Thai
It
down in the
changes the
States.
dynamic.
It changes it 100% because you will find.
But not only that, but you're good. You guys are good.
Yeah, but that's because it's
Which is
only.
interesting to me. You'd think the opposite. If it's just a club, nobody knows about it. It's not big. There's not, people rolling through it.
But that's the mentality of everybody that goes is like, okay, this is serious. I love this. We're gonna get good. That's the club mentality. It's not like, hey, I pay a gym membership and I fuel this guy's revenue and I provide for his family so he can survive because this is the gym owner and I'm here to get a good workout.
Right.
No, this is a club where we all fight. Like that's
Not
just what
everyone
we love to
fights.
do. Not everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people. A lot of people do fight.
So what is some like common traits that you notice about the people who participate in this sport? What's the connector? What keeps these people around?
There's a lot of different like personalities
I know.
involved.
I can only imagine.
There's a ton of personalities. They all aren't scared of challenge. Like you can't be scared of challenge and being dragged into that deep water, which is not even a fighting or wrestling term. I mean, you can get dragged into deep water in real life, figuratively and literally. You can literally be in deep water,
Right.
drowning.
Right.
But that feeling is across all aspects of life. You can be in deep with your bills. I mean, if you rack up debt and you have a horrible job, you can find yourself in deep water. So that feeling doesn't scare anybody
Right.
that is at the gym. That's probably the most common aspect I think that
Right.
that I notice from people at the gym.
Well, it seems like when you challenge yourself like that, other aspects of your life become easy, and you kind of appreciate the fact that you're able to deal with that kind of stress.
In a way, it kind of emulates like, hey, so I can get through this, but it doesn't necessarily make things easier.
Right.
Because the
It
hardest
just kind of
thing,
builds your
Yes.
efficacy.
the hardest thing in your life might not be fighting somebody. You may find the hardest thing in your life is something outside of fighting, but because you've taken on somebody in the ring where they're trying to hurt you, it just might make your drive to get through that whatever incident it is, it might make it easier for you. You can edit
So,
this, right?
do you think that you're going to stay here for a while and keep pursuing this Muay Thai career?
Here in Marquette,
How long do you see yourself fighting for?
until I'm healthy. I mean, until it doesn't.
Till you're not healthy?
Until I'm not healthy and until it does not suit the end goal. I mean, right now I can still train, I can still fight, I can still work on the things that I'm working on and passionate about, and still they all kind of conjoin and they're all healthy. They all work together. So until that point at which fighting does not better myself to that end goal, then I will stop fighting at that point.
So currently, you're living your dream.
I'm not living my dream yet.
You're in Marquette, working at
Not living the
906.
dream
You're
yet.
software engineer. You get to go hunting as much as you can.
My dream was never to be fighting Muay Thai, hunting, and living in Marquette. So I have a dream, and I will make that happen to the point where I can impact a lot of people in a way in which my skills suit me. I can go wherever I want. I can go on any trip I want.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Dream
yes.
is, yeah.
I mean, right now I have freedom, as in I can do whatever I want, literally. If I want to move to California tomorrow, I could.
Right.
Nothing's stopping
And I think
me.
that's genuine because you're going to continue to live your dream, not someone else's. You're not
Yeah.
gonna live for somebody else.
I'm
I
helping.
think that's
I'm helping people in their dreams along the way. I mean, me working at 906, I'm definitely working in helping someone else's dream
definitely
because someone is making a lot of money off the work I do that I don't make as much money as they make.
right. But
I'm
do you
fine
want to
with
stay
that. I'm
there? How
fine with that.
long do you want to stay there forever?
Forever? No.
Right,
No.
right.
But for a good amount of time, yes. Just because I
Well, I think you kind of see past that, the American dream. You don't, your end game is not, I want a house, a car, a dog, and a
no,
TV,
my
you
end
know?
game's a lot different. My end game is not materialistic. So America is built on consumerism. In
I-
consumerism, end goal is materials. Hey, we want this car, we want this dog, we want this house.
Right,
Has nothing to do with my dream.
right,
My dream is about experience, and that experience is freedom. Being an impact to people's life while also going anywhere I want, anytime I want.
right. And I don't think you're
Straight
alone.
experience.
I don't think you're alone in saying that.
No.
I think more and more
It's
people
grown. It's
are
grown.
continuing to stray away from the typical pay for a mortgage, student loans, the whole nine, you know. People
Yep.
are starting to stray away from that.
Because I think that people recognize the possibility of it. So the internet has shown that, oh, okay, it's an actual possibility. Before, like my parents' generation, there was no possibility of that. There was, hey, go get a job at a corporation who's going to pay your living unless you were a renowned artist or a renowned athlete. Like, I mean, top of the line. Now
You weren't recognized the same.
now you have like middle tier people that can still make a living doing what they love, which is powerful. And there's good and bad to it because then you get the you get the lowest of the low trying to scam you into things, but you also have the middle tier people that can actually make a living doing what they love. So it's interesting and I love it. I love that America has, or the world, America's the most renowned for it. I mean, you got people in America that are
The freedom.
the freedom,
thing.
yes. A lot of
But
countries.
is that true? Do you think that's completely true? Don't you think there's other countries
There
that
are.
could potentially be doing it better?
Yeah, there are, and I haven't experienced them, so I don't have a lot of knowledge to talk
Right.
on it. But I know that America
Well,
has
that's really
very,
the only way to get an unbiased picture of that scene is to go experience it.
yes.
You're not going to see it in media.
No, you'll only see what the creators want you to see,
Yeah.
which is biased.
It's like
At
looking
the end
through
of
a
the day,
lens.
it's biased.
You know, it's like a telescope pointed out in space, and they get to point it wherever they want.
Yep. And you see, and they tell you this is the world.
Mm-hmm.
They point that telescope, whatever they want, and they say this is the world. Take a look. You look at it, you're like, fuck, this is the world.
Pretty precise.
Fuck.
That's
But
it.
no, there's actually 360 degrees around you that is also the world.
That interests me because that comes back to my point. Is there anywhere that you're afraid to go? And then I continue to ask why.
There's places I'm afraid to go that I don't even know I'm afraid to go to.
Yeah.
So you'd have to show me them, and I'd be like,
I mean, we
"Fuck, I
talked
don't wanna
about the
go there."
ocean. What about Middle East? Are you afraid to travel in the Middle East?
Yeah, I don't want to be living there.
Why?
That sounds awful, but
Why?
honestly,
I
if
don't
you go,
want to be
if you,
living there.
if you go outside, you gotta fucking deal with tigers and shit, like 500-pound cats, and cats,
Right.
their only knowledge is
Right.
kill, fuck, and sleep.
What about the
I don't want to deal with that. Cats are ruthless. You deal with a house
I know,
cat.
but they're not talking about cats being the danger on the news of the
No,
Middle East,
because
you know what I mean?
there's no money in that. There's no money in talking about Garfield fucking some dude up. There's no money in that. They are strictly money bound. They want currency. They want to release the stories that are going to generate the most revenue. I wouldn't want to live in the jungle or anywhere that there is jungle because there's 500-pound cats out there that are ready to fuck you up. And
So
man,
you're willing to go off
man.
the beaten path. You know, you're
Yes.
not only with your dreams metaphorically, but on the trail as
Yes,
well. You got something
literally.
against trails, Nate.
Yeah, literally, yes. I go off the beaten path because I want to experience what I'm about to experience for myself. So walking, hiking up Hogback, you're experiencing it for yourself, but you're not really because there's been so many documents and
Hmm.
documentations and people pictures, whatever videos, documenting that experience, and so you know what to expect. I wanna create my own experience.
But is that even possible anymore
What do you
with,
mean?
is there
Of
any
course.
uncharted territory?
Yes, I do believe there is uncharted. Yes, 100% there is
So that's what
uncharted
you're saying, that's the
territory.
only way that you can get your fix?
No, not going in uncharted territory. I just want to go where there haven't been a lot of people.
Right.
So, I mean, there's places in the Amazon, South America, or Africa that people have not been. I mean, there's undocumented tribes.
Hmm.
So there's tribes of people living somewhere that no one has been besides them.
Hmm.
That fascinates the hell out of me because they're living out there. No one knows about them. They don't know about other people.
But we do know about them.
We know of it. So this is a classic mathematical problem. There are problems in math where you know there's a solution to it, you just don't know exactly what that solution is.
Hmm.
It's undocumented tribes. We know that there are people out there, we just don't know of their exact existence.
Right.
That's hey, that's genuine, that's 100%. But it's the fact that we don't know about them exactly that interests me. Like, that is so interesting. We know
We have
nothing
pictures of
about
them.
them.
It's kind of crazy that they don't know about us, but we
They
know.
know literally zero. They
Right.
know zero things about
They're
us.
like they're like
That's
animals.
crazy. That's crazy to me. And you look at documentaries where like you go and contact these uncontacted tribes.
They're freaked out.
They're freaked out. They're ready to kill. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen some where they're ready to fight, and they're just like, "Well, what the hell is this? You look like me. You act like me. You walk like me, but you're not me.
Right.
What is this? It's
And
wild to me."
when they see cameras, like
And then they see
must think.
electronics. All they've known is spears and bows.
It must be baffling.
Oh, that's so wild to me. And so yes, we have pictures of undocumented tribes, and I don't know. I think there's tribes out there we don't even have pictures of.
Right.
I think there's legit undocumented tribes.
But Google
Strictly
Maps literally has
undocumented.
a picture of every place, every spot on this
Every
earth.
place,
And it's only
yes.
getting worse. Like you can literally drop yourself on that map and then look around.
Yeah, that's crazy. I
I
love
don't
that feature.
understand
I
that.
love that feature.
That's crazy.
You use maps a
What's
lot?
next?
Do
Like
you use maps?
Google Maps?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Google Maps.
I know. But like what's next for Google Maps? You're going to just be
VR.
able to take a vacation.
VR. You drop yourself in that place. You have a headset on. You can walk around your room. And you can actually go up elevation, go down elevation, go swim in the river.
So what's
through a
stopping you
VR
from
experience.
just doing that from your couch and never going out in the world?
Is that challenging?
There's no risk.
That's what it comes down to. Is it challenging? No.
No.
It's not, right?
Right.
I so it's the ways I find challenge. So I find challenge through fighting, through experiencing the outdoors and the mountains. But at the end of the day, it's about the challenge. I mean, if
Right.
there were no mountains, if there were no fights, I would find a different way to challenge myself.
Right.
So that's what it comes down to is the people that don't want the challenge but want to experience things, they will experience these things through virtual reality. The people that want to challenge themselves will use virtual reality to challenge themselves. And maybe even experience different things that challenge themselves.
Right.
So it's totally an abstracted concept of this is what you want to do. Now, how do you implement that? Because what you want to do may
These
have.
are heavy concepts. These are a little more. These are abstract thinking. It's not
It
so
is. It is.
introspective, but you're juggling concepts that are pretty dense.
Yes, definitely.
How do you find confidence in that?
That's what I do every day is
It's
juggle
what I do every
concepts.
day.
Every day I'm juggling concepts,
When
juggling ideas, implementing those ideas.
when I said that I wanted to have you on the podcast, you gave me some goofy resume shit that you want me to say for your bio, and I'll read that here. I think it's a good time.
Oh.
Nate is an investor in time, talent, and currency to help the many. What does that mean?
That just means I'm working towards, whether that be my time, my skills, or my currency, I'm investing to help the population as a whole. I want to
Okay.
help society. So there's ways that people invest their currency to help society, right? There's libraries that get built up and populated with books from someone paying money.
Right, but I get that. What about investing time? How do you explain that?
Yeah. So there's researchers, there's engineers that are investing their time. Yes, they get paid at the end of the day because that might be
But you consider yourself one of these people.
because I am spending time, let's say the blockchain. The blockchain's gonna impact a lot of people. You may not see direct value from the blockchain because
Right.
it's not the new Facebook. It's not the new fucking AIM.
Right.
Were you ever on AIM?
Instant Messenger.
Yes.
Back in the
Yes.
day.
Way back in the day.
Hitting up the honeys.
You weren't. Yes.
That just changes. It's changed so much.
That shit is great.
It's changed so
It's
much.
great to think about that.
Even like dating has changed so
Yeah.
much. Like, how do you find a date? You slide in the DM or what?
You just slide right in the DM, say, "Hey, girl."
You gotta
Go
like
out
a
with
few.
me?
Hey, you gotta like a few
you gotta
photos.
like a few photos.
At least
too.
three.
Yeah.
At least three. Comment once.
That's fucking great.
That's weird.
It is weird,
You
but
don't. I mean, the dynamic has changed.
it has. That's what technology does. So I invest my time to research the differences that are going to make society different. So just as the internet with AIM, Facebook, MySpace, they changed the society in a better and worse way. There's worse ways, there's better ways.
Right.
But if you utilize it right, it's better. It's
Right.
way better. So I invest my time to research these ideas and hopefully bring to market the ideas that are going to benefit people. And maybe not the end consumer, but it's going to benefit businesses who therefore benefit the end consumer.
So, what makes you different? You know what I mean? I feel like
I think everyone's
you're-
different.
You're definitely talking about things that people don't even consider on a daily basis.
No.
You know what I mean?
There's some people out there
But
that
there
do.
are people that do. Like, what have you accumulated in your 22 years of life on planet Earth and the United States of America that's going to allow you to come through on these things that you're talking about?
Well, I'm still working on it, and that's why I don't get lackadaisical. I mean, I don't ever think, hey,
You don't
I'm
consider yourself an expert.
no, not at all, ever,
It's healthy.
ever. Like, I work to be an expert, but I won't ever be an expert. You know,
Right.
there's always knowledge to be learned.
Right.
There's always a facet you don't know about. And so I live my life in that way that, okay, I'm always learning. I always want to put myself around people that know more than me to use the knowledge that I've acquired to benefit people as a whole. That's what I work towards.
Are you afraid to fail?
Not necessarily, because failure in and of itself is a learning exercise.
So
Yeah, I don't
failure's
want to be a
good.
failure. I mean, who wants to be a failure? Do you want to be a failure?
Well, how can you even say
learn.
that? How can you even say that there is a true failure? Because you
That's
always
true.
get a second shot.
It's 100% true.
It's
Because
always just leading to the next thing.
I
till
don't.
you're
I don't
dead.
even believe in failure. To be honest,
You don't believe in failure.
I don't believe in failure. I don't think.
Have you
there's-
ever failed?
No, because I'm here today, right?
Right. You're not dead.
I'm
I
not dead.
I suppose.
The ultimate failure, I guess, is death.
Right.
And even then, we could go on to a deep concept of, are you even failing then, or did you? So that's
So
a road we don't
failing
want
is
to go
important.
around. There's no failure. I mean, I'm here today, and I know what I know. So did I fail ever in my life? I don't think so. I may have failed a test,
Right.
but what the fuck does that test
Right.
matter? But I'm here today, and I have the knowledge I have. There's no failure unless you let it be a failure. I mean, failure can be just a learning course.
So you believe that each failure is meant to happen,
Not meant to happen. I mean,
not by.
I don't think anything's meant to happen. I think what happens is a repercussion of the choices you've
like
chosen
action reaction,
previously.
whether it be
Exactly.
physics, whether it
Exactly.
be. Okay.
So I don't think everything's meant to happen. You choose what happens to you, but there's no failure. You may be wrong. You may be wrong in some aspect, but you're going to learn. Hopefully, if you're smart enough, you're going to learn from that aspect, and you can use that new knowledge of you failing in quotation marks. You can use that new knowledge to benefit yourself and
Right.
other people.
Right.
So I don't think there's any failure.
That's a good attitude to have in going into it as well, and
It's
being
the,
humble.
it's the only attitude you can have if you want to succeed. That's
And what's
has
success look
different
like?
that has
We'll leave it.
different
We'll leave it at this. What is your ultimate goal? What does success look like for you?
I want to
You said
impact people.
freedom,
I want to impact people. Have a direct impact on people in a
and
beneficial
you're
way.
not specific on how.
And I don't know how. I want to have people realize like, hey, this is beneficial, and he's helped me do this. So I want that, but at the same time, I want freedom, and it's very abstract. But that's how you start. Is you start abstract and you drill down.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm drilling many holes, and I don't know which hole is going to be the deepest, but one of them will be. You drill enough holes, you're going to find one.
Mhm.
And I actively wait to, I mean, not wait, I'm not waiting, I'm not sitting on my hands. It's the biggest thing. You can't sit on your hands. Nothing's going to come to you. But I'm actively digging for that.
So when you do find this accomplishment, are you doing it for the recognition?
No, for people to praise me, sit down and say, "Hey, I love you. I love you. Thank you for doing that." No,
Well,
that's not what I do it for.
what do you do it for?
I do it to know that I impact people and better their lives.
So it's not a selfish endeavor. It's not. You said your ultimate goal is to have freedom, but it sounds more so like.
Part of it. I mean, just so I had an interesting conversation with somebody in that when you're going out into the world, into society, and actively fighting your way, you could replicate it as a fight. I mean, you're trying to better society, you're fighting to better the society, or you want to become self-sufficient in and of itself, so you can do whatever you want and still provide for yourself and your family. You're fighting for that.
Hmm.
So if you're fighting to just provide for yourself, like you are like, "Hey, mine,
Right.
give
Right.
me, you're gonna come up with some evil forces,
Right.
some forces that are gonna stop you in your tracks. But when you're fighting to better other people, it's gonna be a lot easier for you. And then it's gonna be weird because people are gonna be looking to help you. Like, oh, you're trying to better somebody? Let me give you my resources.
Right.
Instead of you saying, mine, give me mine. No one wants to help you. But if you're trying to help other people are going to join in the endeavor.
Right. That's
So
kind of, yeah, I feel
that's
you.
what the world needs to be about. But that's not what the world is about. People want to be mine. They want theirs. They want theirs before they give it to others. So that's the issue. And that's what I recognize. I mean, I want to help other people. I've tried. That's something that's came up, and it's the one of the things that I've actually thought about myself, which is something I don't do very often. But ever since a very young age, I've always helped other people. I've always taught them things that maybe I knew that they didn't know, and that's a theme that's came up in my life. Is I've always tried to help somebody, teach them something I maybe knew and they didn't. And so I know that that is my calling. I'm gonna impact people. I don't 100% know how that's gonna
Right.
form.
Well,
I
it's
just know it's
it's
going to
still
happen.
early.
I mean, I'm 23 years old. Think about that. In 7 years, I'll be 30. 30's fucking young.
Yeah.
30 is young, and in 7 years,
It's a lot of
oh my
time,
God, it blows
especially
my
with the
mind
resources that we have.
to think about how much I will know in 7 years, the skills I will have in 7 years. It's so unbelievable.
That's a good way to look at it.
Oh man. And at 30, you're fucking young. You're so young at 30. That's so, I mean, that's my whole get up.
I like it, Nate.
That's my get up.
I think you're definitely gonna impact some people, and I think you have already. Whether it be in the community or whether it be people who are within your projects or people in the gym.
It's my goal. I don't do a good job of impacting people because I'm very selfish at this young age. I am very selfish. Like I just want to learn as much as I can myself.
Well, it's got a
But
you
that
have an end game,
there's an end game to it. So my selfishness is not the end game.
right?
My selfishness is to acquire as much skill and knowledge as I can so that I can then disperse that and utilize it in a way that impacts a lot of people. So I understand it, but some people may not. Some people may not get it, but I'm okay with it. I don't care what people think about me. I mean,
You're happy.
I'm happy. I'm
Well,
not
rock
satisfied.
on.
I'm not satisfied, but I'm happy. So,
Rock on, brother.
yes, sir.
We just did an hour and a half.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Some content.
A little bit.
Episode 1. I'm excited to.
January 1st, 2018.
It's a good start.
Crazy.
You know,
Good start
it's
to
a
the
good
year.
start. We're starting some new things up. We got some good episodes coming up. We're gonna have Connor Landick on the show.
Is he second?
On the 15th. He's second episode.
Awesome. The
We're
15th?
gonna be talking about jits.
That's great.
Like I said, Nate is.
We didn't even get into any jits this episode.
We didn't, and that's
Why
on,
not?
That's on purpose. No, we just talked about Muay Thai. This episode was kind of dedicated to getting to know you because you're going to be sitting in on the shows as the assistant slash fact check slash drink grabber. I don't know, sitting on your computer
Anything.
doing
Assistant.
what you do, you know. But thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, good time. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure, brother. Big time. That's a good start. And information operation is underway.
Underway on a roll.
So until next time, ride the waves, dude.